she is, Jessica Anderson. Did you like that?
I like it.
I tried to change it up this morning for your open this morning.
Yeah, it's like the
That was
Miss
good.
America singing song. I like it.
You are on special assignment this morning. We can't say what you're doing, but very special assignment. But we wanted to get you in for the love court because we got questions from the BFFs. Let's jump right into it. What do you got?
So, dear Jessica, my husband and I were married 5 years ago. We were both married before and came into the marriage with our own homes. We decided to live in my house and fix it up. He sold his home. Now, 5 years later, we're getting divorced. He is telling me that I need to give him half of the equity in my house. That doesn't seem fair. It was my house prior to marriage. We did refinance, and as part of that, I had to put him on title, but I never agreed to give him half of my house. What can I do?
Whoa.
This one's
hey
going to
now.
be a
Lady?
sticky one.
Lady, you put him on title to your house. You did agree to give him half your house. All of these things have a consequence, right? You get married. That has a legal consequence. Without a prenuptial agreement, any income, any property you acquire during the marriage is community property. Similarly, if you have separate property that you're coming into the marriage with, but you don't do anything to protect it, and you put your spouse's name on it, you're gifting it to the community estate. The law is that all community property has to be equally divided. I think she loses this, particularly since it sounds like their plan was, it's not just that she put him on title, but also, they refinanced, so he's probably been paying the loan. They made an agreement to live in her house instead of his and fix up her house. I guess I'm wondering why she thinks she shouldn't have to share it with him at this point. They both made plans regarding that house. So,
Wow.
I see where she's coming from if she owned it for several years prior, right? So it feels like it's her house.
Right.
But you know
Because
what?
it was always her house.
It's crazy because when you first started reading it, I was like, oh, okay. I said, this is going to be interesting. But everything that you just said makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Is that he probably made concessions to move into her house,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden he's on the title, and it's like, yeah, then it becomes the community property that you talk
Right.
about a lot.
Right. And so now he's on the loan and he's on title. And also, she doesn't say this, but he sold his home. Did he then use money from his home to fix up her home?
Oh, yeah.
I got a
Right?
question. I got a question here involving community property and people that get married and debt. Because there's a lot of times when people get remarried and they may bring some debt into that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Say if they're married for 5 years and let's just go 10 years, and all of a sudden that relationship ends and one person has a lot of debt. It could be credit card debt. Maybe it's a loan that they defaulted on. Does that become the new significant other, or in this situation, ex-significant other responsibility?
So technically, if the debt was acquired prior to the marriage, then no, it would be the, charging party's separate property debt. However, if debt was added to it during the marriage, your wife is, shopping, putting groceries on credit cards, and then, the credit cards just keep growing or just never get paid off because you just keep adding to them, then yeah, that's a community debt.
Ooh.
It was, incurred for the benefit of the marriage, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that happens a lot in situations where, one party is handling all the finances and doesn't really know what the other party's doing, or other party doesn't know what they're doing. So, let's say wife handles all the bills, but then also has all these credit cards that husband doesn't know about. That's fairly common. So, unfortunately, it depends on what she was buying with it, but if she was just buying stuff for the house and necessary expenses, then you're on the hook for that.
Wow.
Hey.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's it. I love that question about putting somebody on the house because, especially when it's a house that you've had for a number of years.
Right. So be smart about it. I get what she's saying. I get why she thinks it shouldn't be his, but then maybe don't put his name on it. You don't have to do that. She could have held it as her separate property. She could have made him sign off. Through the process, she could have said, because once you're married, they make you take property as jointly titled, but then a lot of times there's an immediate quitclaim deed back to the original party.
And I'm not expecting you to comment on this, but I know so many people that are not married and they get into situations where it's like, we're going to buy a house together and we're going to get married down the road, and things happen. They're both on the house, and then it's like, oh, what do we do?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sticky situation.
Yeah, well, it's the same concept, right? So they're not holding it as community property because they're not married, but they're holding it as they're in a joint tenancy. So it's jointly titled, meaning they each have an
50%.
interest in half of So in that situation, you still have to buy out the other party. It's like a contract, right? You enter into a contract to own this house together.
Wow.
It's the same concept. I mean, it's not community property, but it's still jointly held property, and you're still entitled to your property. It doesn't matter that you're not married.
Great advice always from Jessica Anderson from Anderson Kusher. We do it every single Friday here on the show, and we have a great portal set up on our website at alice965.com. Jessica, I'm proud to say, and I know I sound like a broken record every single week, but you answer every single question you receive.
I do, and sometimes we get more than one question, and so I save those for the following week. We usually only have time for one, so if I didn't talk about your question, it's probably coming on next week. So stay tuned for that. But if you guys anyone needs to come in for consultation or needs more information, they can call us at 775-823-0049.